Continuem, ara parlarem de VODO amb Jamie King. Jamie, please, you feel free to explain.
Hi. Can I ask how many of you feel confident as English listeners? I mean, do you feel confident? Okay, well, fine. I'm going to speak at a normal speed then, which I think is too fast for most English people, so just start waving your hands if I get too enthusiastic. And I have to say, just to begin with, I sort of agree with everything you just said, and it's something I fundamentally disagree with, and I think, well, I guess you must have thought about this, and it's interesting, I guess, to pose the opposite point of view when it comes to the question of whether what we make, the cultural things we make, are independent from the technologies that we have. I mean, it seems to me that, for example, in a really important way, the films we make or the music we make is completely dependent on the technology we have to make films and on the way we distribute. I mean, think about how they make war. They make war through TV as it exists, radio as it exists, magazines as they exist, newspapers as they exist. And without these tools, they, whoever they are, couldn't make the most of the British public believe that there are weapons of mass destruction in Iraq and da-da-da-da. So clearly, the technology, the way that things are distributed, affects not just what is made culturally, not just whether it's Turin Horse or Charlie Chaplin, Hard Times, yes, but whether war happens or doesn't happen. So in a sense, it goes to it's the most important question. How media and distribution is structured changes not only what we see, but what will actually happen in the world. And this is why I would argue that the things we're discussing have a political dimension to them. Yes. That's kind of easy to forget when you just... Which we have to always answer the question of how is this filmmaker going to make money? How does this musician make money? Because it goes to the question of how is work going to get made? And it is important because not everybody's got a rich daddy or rich mummy who say, I will pay for you while you make your music career work. I will pay for you while you make your film. And I'm sensitive to that, reality. But at the same time, there is this sense that it's just important that we can now share media massively without having to ask someone, please, can I get the right to speak? Can I get the right to... quite clearly, most of the news as we would understand it is not going to make it onto the BBC, right? And likewise, so just to respond to something you said that makes me sort of I feel emotionally connected to this argument. But when we made this film, Steal This Film, in 2006, we made a film about piracy called Steal This Film, and for sure, no one was gonna give us the chance to speak, to have our film distributed on television, DVD, Blu-ray didn't exist then, but Blu-ray disc, and definitely not the cinema, and probably no film festivals either. Because we made a film that was described as militant. That's how people describe Steal This Film, a militant film. And we made that film on like $5,000. I mean, which means just whatever we scraped together out of our pockets and flew around and interviewed the Pirate Bay and brought some people together and cut the film on a pirated copy of Final Cut Pro. And I just realized this has been recorded. And said to ourselves, if this reaches 20,000 people, we'll be delighted. And at the end of the week, 1 million people had downloaded it, and we were receiving emails from like crazy people from all over the world. And you realize something amazing has happened that's not specific to you or to your film. You could convince yourself that it's because you're a very special person with lots of great things to say, but something has happened, and that thing applies to everybody in the room, which is you can make a film and take it and put it somewhere on the internet, maybe not YouTube, I agree, you're more likely to get lost. And this is where I totally agree with you. The chances of getting lost are massive and so on and so on. But it can happen that a political expression or a creative expression, a musical expression, can reach a massive audience next to no cost to you and without needing to pass through what was previously called a gatekeeper, you know? And that this is a fundamentally new moment in history, you know, which if we're not excited about it, there's something wrong with us, because it's a serious and big change. Do you understand what I'm talking about? So when we made we made Steal This Film, and we released it using BitTorrent, which is a peer-to-peer protocol. You don't need to know the details. Suffice it to say, it lets you distribute things massively at very low cost and lets people share. And I think ultimately the film has been downloaded like 6 million times, and we received like $40,000 over some years. In donations, we had a system that said, if you like the film and you want us to make another film, give us $1. And I think in the first 2 years or year and a half, we received about $8,001, or 7,000. And PayPal took 30 cents of every single $1. And we were like, we really should have thought of that more carefully, you know? And so the next time round we said, Steal This Film 2, we said, why don't you, if you're going to donate, you know, donate $5. I mean, donate what you like, but if you donate $5, that will mean less going to PayPal. And if you donate $20, we'll give you a mystery gift. Mystery gift, 98.5% of people donated $20 from then on. Mystery gift. Do you know? Sometimes it was nothing, if I'm honest, sometimes. Sometimes it was a sticker, sometimes it was a poster, something, you know, whatever you had to put in an envelope and send to someone, you know, mystery gift. No one ever complained. And so, you know, then you realize something weird is going on, because as you know, I then was invited to lots of film festivals, and it took me a long time to realize, a long time before I realized, you sit on panels with documentary film distributors, and none of them will tell you that $40,000 is a lot of money to make for a documentary film. I sat there for 2 years before I realized, hang on a minute, I made more money than all of you just through my crazy ass system of just like asking for money randomly in the street, you know? And then you think, okay, so we're onto something interesting. You know, maybe this is actually a paradigm. So, this project that we do is called VODO. Basically arose out of talking to filmmakers. Because the way the festivals would always want to do it would be, we'll put you next to the head of Lionsgate and the big entertainment company, and you'll argue, and it'll be fun. And because you're trying to steal films from people, and this will be a fun argument. And what would actually happen is like 20 filmmakers will come up after the talk and say, how do I do it? Can I share my film? You know, I've got a film and nobody bought it. I made it for $20,000. Nobody's seen it. And I'd like 1 million people to download my film for free, you know? And so I would tell them how we did it, which is that we took the film, we went to the Pirate Bay, and we said, would you promote our film for us? We want to give it away. Would you help us give it away? I told them to do that. I told them to do other things that we did. No one ever did it. So eventually I got bored and thought, well, let's build a machine to do it. If they won't do it for themselves, well, it's like what you were saying. People, you don't realize how much knowledge you have about distribution, which you've accrued through making many mistakes. And in the end, it makes some sense to build a machine and give it to people to use. So we built VODO about 2-3 years ago, and what it does is you can take your film, upload it to VODO, and the way we look at it is, since people are downloading films in massive numbers uncontrollably everywhere, why not at least try to go to the places where presumably quite a lot of you are downloading films and say, I know you're here to download an illegal copy of The Avengers Assemble, or I don't know, whatever. You're here for something. I don't want to know what you're there for. But here's a copy of L5, a show made by 5 filmmakers in Chicago that they made for almost nothing, which you might like. How about downloading that and see if you feel like supporting it? That's basically the whole idea. So we try to bring together places, go to places where people are downloading stuff in massive numbers, bring them things which they might enjoy, and see if from a massive audience who's downloaded something for free, you can create a smaller group of people who want to support the filmmaker. And what we found is that if you can reach 1 million people, I don't know how many downloaded this now. 1.7 million. Then they made $15,000. Now, I mean, okay, the statistics aren't good, but as I'm sure anybody who would tell you is in the proportion is not so great. But I'm sure anybody would tell you, if I gave you a film that was by unknown filmmakers, no marketing, right? No marketing whatsoever. It's been made for $8,000 on your platform. $14,000 would be good, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So that's the game. We're in completely different worlds because you touched on it, because it's like, what do you do to create audience and create possibilities for filmmakers when you don't have Hollywood money? Not only do you not have Hollywood marketing money, you don't have any marketing money. You know, what do you do then? And really what we're saying is, well, maybe if you let people share it and let it just find its way through the world free, which is a property of the internet, you know, a property of what can be done today, along the way, you discover passionate individuals here and there who want to contribute to the success of that film, that filmmaker, and even VODO itself. I'm just going to make sure I cover the things that Louis tell me to. So that's we've just finished distributing that L5 is. We just stopped that being our main release, and their target was $15,000 for their first episode, and they made that in about 6 weeks, I think. So that's kind of okay. And then we had a show which was done the same way. We managed to get to 6 episodes of the show. It's called Pioneer 1. It's showing here. The pilot episode is showing here. Now that's quite fun because they came to me with an idea for it. They came to us with an idea for a show and said, if we make this show, will you distribute it? And you feel like a network, you know, you feel like HBO or something, you know, it's like, okay, we'll do it. And then they deliver the show and you think, God, I don't know, are people going to watch this or they're not going to watch it? I've got no idea. And then suddenly 3.5 million people have watched it and they made $120,000. So they're super pleased. You know, and they went on to win the New York TV Festival Best Pilot and so on and so on. And again, these are filmmakers they're first world, white, American English-speaking filmmakers. With all of that in brackets, they had nothing. Do you understand? It's quite a lot to get from there to 3.5 million viewers and $120,000. They're only 23, 24. So this is the function VODO provides at the moment, you know, that's kind of where we sit. And then I'll just say one thing about the future, and then I'll stop, so we keep it short about for everybody else. At the same time, you can see that if we give 1.7 million copies away of something, everybody starts to wonder, well, could there be a better ratio of downloads to donations? So in the future, we're going to start working on more traditional models alongside these. Basically, what we believe is that free is going to be really important for this generation and the generation that comes after it. We continue to believe that free is crucial. The free basically will define how people understand what media is. Media becomes more like, I was going to say water, but there's plenty of people trying to own water. like air, in the sense that it's completely abundant. To give you an idea, I did a rough calculation. You know the way that disk space shrinks and gets cheaper every year. I did a calculation based on the statistics so far. By 2021, a disc the size of your thumb will be able to contain every film ever made, and will cost $5. This is not some science fiction speculation. It's literally based on the data year to year. Do you understand? Did you understand what I said? And so you have to think in that context about what media is going to be. So my view is you've got to keep your eye on free, because that's how we're going to understand media, as something which is more like air, in which any film or any piece of content ever made can be yours in the twinkling of an eye at next to zero cost. And in that context, what I think is important is using film, using music, using art as a connector between audience and creator. You know, I do think that there's money there. I mean, we've showed that there's some money there, and I think there can be a lot more money there for filmmakers. But for my money, the future is not going to be simply transactional. Even though platforms like yours are really making a great success out of it, and I'm super impressed, as you know. I'm super impressed by the numbers, you know. For my money, we have to consider a future in which, as an object, film looks less like a product and more as a connector of people, creative people and creative audiences. And I think that there's immense amounts of value there in a way that both a capitalist could understand and a person, you know. And but that's all I want to say. Enough.
Thank you very much. This is Jamie.